The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. It's time for the Guillotine Grapevine, a podcast for the land of 10,000 wrestlers. 10,000 wrestlers. Now, here's your host, award-winning wrestling broadcast journalist, Jason Bryant.
Another episode of the Minnesota Guillotine Grapevine here from a basement on Brook, somewhere around the University of Minnesota campus with Joe Dashou. He is a Canadian who has come south of his border, the 49th parallel, to train in the wonderful style, the classic style of Greco-Roman wrestling. Joe, what's up, man?
Not much. Happy to be here.
I would say welcome to the United States, but you've been here multiple times before, and you've been here for quite a while.
Oh, yeah. Just been hanging out in Chicago.
Hanging out in Chicago, places out west. So let's just get some background. Why am I interviewing a Canadian Greco-Roman wrestler in a Minnesota basement right now? Well, one, is there such thing as Canadian Greco-Roman wrestling? Let's just get into that.
It used to be a thing. They ran out of time basically in the 80s, mid-80s to late 80s. Maybe 88. And then people just forgot about it. Ran out of funding. Started going all freestyle. And people like me who can't sprawl had to learn how to sprawl or struggle.
So is it a misnomer to say, well, you don't shoot either because if you're not sprawling, or it's a Greco joke, by the way.
Yeah, Greco Joe. They call me that in the freestyle rooms too. So yeah, shooting was not my my favorite thing to do.
So you were Greco Joe in Canada. Now you're here. You're Canadian Joe. And we first saw the first a couple weeks ago in Rochester at the U23 World Team Trials. I'm talking with a couple guys from the Storm. Alec Ortiz, most notably, who's known for his T-shirt skills in terms of making T-shirts. And he showed us the prototype of the Canadian Joe Greco shirt. And let me tell you something. That was pretty good, buddy.
Yeah, I'm not your buddy, guy. Okay,
tell me, guy, buddy.
It's Guy Fwend.
Guy Fwend.
There you go.
Anyway, see. So it's an homage to Terrence and Phillip from South Park and the whole Blame Canada thing. But as we get to a serious discussion here, first of all, where are you from in Canada, and what made you like Greco-Roman so much up there?
Born in London, Ontario. It's about an hour and a half drive outside of Toronto. I like Greco because Western wrestling, the program that I guess started wrestling with, they were all judo guys. And so we learned to throw pretty early.
A lot of Ray Takahashi stuff.
Ray Takahashi, yes, and his son, Steven. And I was his training partner pretty much as soon as I got there. And this guy, he's a shoulder thrower, as I'm sure you guys are aware of. And yeah, a lot of throws, a lot of upper body stuff. Mostly didn't have the strength, to be honest, to shoot and get stuck. I'd always get stuck, sorry. And yeah, I just had to stand up straight, try to toss people, try to catch them sneaky.
So what's it like growing up wrestling in Canada at the high school level?
I actually only started in grade 12. So
you were like a first year guys as an American senior, because I believe there's a grade 13 or like college and then university structure up there?
Yeah, pretty much. I started when I was 18 years old.
So you've only been in this 7 years.
Barely. It was that when I was 18, it was a 3-month season, taught wrestling by a football coach who thought a gut wrench was only for strong people. So yeah, that's how much experience I started in wrestling with. So yeah, I started pretty late. I picked it up pretty quick, I'd like to think, and I just fell in love with it.
So we first met a couple years ago with a mutual friend, Andy Ross, who runs 49northwrestling.com. He's now in Alberta, actually works with the Alberta Wrestling Federation there and part of Wrestling Canada Lutte, as I have to say that because it's 2 languages up there. And I believe it was 14 or 15. I think it was the 14 World Team Trials. And it was just a general goofball tomfoolery, a little bit in Vegas, and it's like, this Joe guy's pretty funny. And then all of a sudden, I get a call, a Facebook message out of the blue. You're looking to train Greco in the United States and looking for options. Where did you first go before landing here?
I was actually planning on going to Arizona. I was still thinking of pursuing my freestyle career. BC wasn't working out too well.
BC, just for those who...
Oh, right.
It's not the headache powder, it's British Columbia.
British Columbia, Canada, in Vancouver, the city. And my friend Heisling Garcia, who took me to the Olympics as a training partner in Rio, he became assistant volunteer coach with ASU. And I was thinking of just going down to Arizona and training with the Sunkist kids and like the freestyle there. But I don't know. I just had a change of heart. I was kind of sick and tired of falling into one little thing. Like it was always freestyle and I always just hated it. And then I thought I was a natural at Greco. And so, yeah, I asked you where the best Greco was, and you told me Minnesota. So I was like, all right, I guess. I
said either the Army in Colorado Springs or Minnesota Storm. But what's interesting about that whole thing is I was going to allude to this later in the show, but I don't even know if I used that word properly in the situation. Last time I did see you was at the Olympics as you were Heislin's training partner. Heisling was a 3-time Olympian for Canada, still competing as far as we know. He's, he could give 2020 another go. I mean, who's going to knock him off up in Canada right now? He's still the king of the mountain.
Of course.
Training in Tempe, good workout partners down there. But he brought you as a training partner. We know what the training partners have done for those Americans that look at themat.com and they see the videos of the training partners on, at the various places that Team USA competes at. What was it like being a training partner with Team Canada? Comparatively speaking to what you may have seen on the internet with the Team USA.
Yeah, I think it's different, definitely different. How it works for us is somebody you pick somebody who's going to go there and support you. I think the US brings somebody who could potentially be an alternate just in case something happens.
In some cases, yeah. I mean, like Spencer Lee, for example, was Dan Dennis's training partner, but as a high school senior, he's probably not going to be the alternate. Although he's there just
Spencer
in case.
Lee, I think, is a better alternate option than I would be if Heisling got hurt or something like that.
That would be weird. Now wrestling on Mat B from Canada. Yeah, that would have been,
Exactly.
We got the future for that, but at that moment, that would have been different. But continue.
Yeah. So he brought me because I was there, just a good friend. I helped him out the entire time that I was in BC. I mean, maybe the first couple months that I moved there, I was really working hard, and I told him my passion and I wanted to be in 2020. And so he was the guy. He was probably the main reason I moved to BC. He's the best guys in Canada were out there at the time. And yeah, we fell in love.
One thing, bromance. One thing that the Canadian system has that the United States is starting to develop a little bit is how the clubs work closely with the universities. So you're mentioning BC, that's Burnaby Mountain Wrestling Club, which is with Simon Fraser University, which is now an NCAA Division II school, really strong women's wrestling program, very good wrestling tradition. Guys like Daniel Legali came out of that program. Justin Abdu, the coach there now. Mike Jones just retired. But what's it like coming into that situation where I guess it's maybe similar to here? You're in a college room, but with senior level athletes, and you're kind of going back and forth with the athletes in that respect.
Yeah. Well, with these guys, I don't think I'm actually allowed to train with them technically. So I never have done any freestyle with the U of M guys. Yes, the Gophers.
Because you've got a couple Gopher roommates at the moment.
Yeah, I haven't wrestled with them in their official practices because I believe it's against NCAA rules. And I mean, otherwise they'd ship a bunch of Canadians up here or down here. Sorry, of course. But no, I never really worked with these guys like I did with the Simon Fraser guys, because those guys every day, every day, 7 a.m. or 4 p.m., we'd always be together and training together. They were my training partners. But yeah, I just those were my guys. Shout out to Simon Fraser.
The boys. Clan. Yeah. So they're again the only Canadian school in NCAA Division II. So as we can, yes, it's a college house. You're going to hear doors open and close as kids are actually going to class. I'm actually happy to see that.
Those are my children.
Many classes, but you're not like that much older than they are.
Okay, well.
Anyway, I was 25 in college though. Well, actually, no, I got out 8 days before I turned 25. So I wasn't super bad. The freshmen did call me Gramps. But getting back to the idea of wrestling Greco-Roman, your ultimate goal, you said, is 2020. You're not down here to wrestle for the United States. You're training in the United States. So how deep does that Canadian blood flow there?
It flows. I really
like a warm cup of Tim Hortons coffee.
Yes. Oh man, Tim Hortons. I'll tell you a funny story about Tim Hortons.
Oh,
later.
Don't worry, I've got Tim Hortons on the agenda. Keep going.
Perfect. Of course. No, I really my passion is in Canadian Greco and bringing it back. One of the things that I'm lucky to have is permanent resident status in the U.S. And so I could use that opportunity to come here, train here with you guys and, support you guys like you guys are supporting me already, and then bring back what I'm learning to Canada and maybe start a program there. Just to work together right now is a dream. Seriously. But I feel like I'm one of the only people that can do that.
All right, so I get you Chandler's number. Explain what these phone calls are like now. I'm curious on what the reaction is, and I gave him a refresh. Say, hey, my buddy up in Canada wants to come down here and train Greco, and you take the story from there.
I was terrified. Honestly, I was terrified.
Why are you terrified? What's terrifying to you as a Canadian about Dan Chandler?
So first off, I give him a text, nothing formal at all, and I'm totally not used to taking phone calls. Especially about wrestling. And so I give him a text, I shoot him a text saying, hey, I'm Canadian Joe, just interested in some Greco. What's up, basically? And he ends up calling me the next day. I'm terrified. I do not answer. So scared. So I just let it go to voicemail. His voicemail, I listened to it. It's just, hey, call me back. I'm interested in getting you down here to train. And so I'm walking on the street and I just decide to call him, and he picks up. He says, hey, how's it going? I'm like, how's it going? It's good. A Canadian guy just trying to get some Greco training. And he says, okay, awesome. Sounds good. You should come check it out. Definitely interested, which is, I don't know. I was surprised. I thought there was going to be some catch, okay, come in. We're going to break your neck and then we're going to send you back to Canada. But
where that's probably better hospitalization. We don't want to get into politics of medical care on this show.
Yeah, that's another thing I'm scared of.
Maybe get into that later. Go ahead.
But yeah, he's like, we got Pat Smith here. He's our world team guy, and I didn't know too much about Pat, but I mean, the world team guy that's more than I've ever been, obviously, especially from a freestyle standpoint. I haven't been on the world team. And then this is switching to Greco. So he's like, yeah, we got Pat Smith. You'll wrestle him and it'll be great. And I'm just like, what did I just get myself into? And then I told Heisland about that. And he's like, well, you don't have to pay for flights. You could just get Pat Smith to throw you back to Canada if you have to.
Pretty good arm spin.
Yeah.
You could do that.
Yeah. And so I was scared, but also excited. I already felt the support and, they wanted to get me down here, which is terrific. So yeah, I felt already pretty a part of the program as soon as I got that call. So
and you had spent some time on the West Coast too, in what, Colorado, I believe, before you got here, or you were looking where were you? You were at BC the whole time.
I was in BC the whole time. Yeah, and so I was gonna go visit Arizona, but then I just completely ditched it, and that was it.
So I'm curious. So how do you get permanent residency status here?
So when my parents immigrated from Syria, yeah, I'm Syrian. I'm not a white guy. Sorry, maybe.
I mean, Dashou. Hello. I mean,
it just sounds like a sneeze.
You're welcome. Bless you. Go ahead. Continue. So
yeah. So my parents immigrated from Syria, and the rest of my mom's side moved to the United States. So we were the only ones that went to Canada. And when I was 11, 12 years old, my grandma started the process to sponsor us, me, my mom, and my sister. And it took a really long time. It took 9 years. And then by the time I could use it, I pretty much did. So I came here and I would stay in Chicago with my family, for a couple months, back and forth, and then I decided to stick around because it's an opportunity that not many people have, a permanent residence. It took so long, so long.
When we're looking at Greco-Roman wrestling, what did you know about the Minnesota Storm and Dan Chandler and the people that had come out of here? Because you said you were mortified of Coach Chandler. I didn't want to talk to him. I was scared. And then Pat Smith, you kind of knew about him. But what did you know about the history of the Minnesota Storm?
To be honest, not too much. Otherwise, I wouldn't have asked you.
Right. All right. Well, I'm apparently, folks, I am bringing in Canadian imports.
Yeah. I knew a couple of guys from here, Daniel DeShazer and oh my God, Zach Sanders. I knew the freestyle guys, but I didn't know too much about the Greco. And then as soon as you referred me, I started doing my research.
So now that you've researched it and you've looked at some of the names that are a world team, Olympic team, I mean, it's been represented on every team, world or Olympic team, I think since 68, I think it is. But,
right.
in hindsight, you realize you probably made the right decision with this particular place.
Definitely. I mean, like I said, I'm already feeling the love. Like you guys, oh man, it's just huge jump in anything I ever train. I used to train what I thought was Greco back in Canada. And it's so much more technical here. You guys got your stuff down. You know, there's a lot of stuff I had no idea about. Who knew you had to use your hips in Greco? You know, it's just weird.
I'm the wrong person to ask because my Greco career went one match, and I had more cracked ribs than I had victories. I actually had more cracked ribs than I did matches. But as we look at that, and so coming down here, and then you realize that, you know, guys like Chandler and then the people that are revered, you know, Alan Rice really pretty much started the Minnesota Wrestling Club as the Minnesota Storm. He was, you know, Olympic coach. And when you start to understand the history of what this club means, especially like to this area, what does it really do for your mindset in terms of like, okay, this is the opportunity to train?
Yeah. You know, it really lights the fire because these guys are, I mean, even the guys that are in the room right now are so serious and they're so passionate. Everybody has pretty much the same end goal. You know, you want to be an Olympian. It's every wrestler's dream. I mean, it's the pinnacle of our sport. You know, everybody is on the same track, same mindset, just work. And these guys, oh, geez, that's one thing that I really, really have to learn is to toughen up. These guys just don't, they don't let up. That's one thing I really learned. I've just been getting my ass beat.
Who threw you for the first time? I mean, and not like okay, let's practice throws situation, but like a live go. It's like, and you're going for a ride.
I think it was Alec Ortiz. He, I think it was, no, not a lift. Maybe it was a head pinch. Yeah, he got me good.
So you went
like
over,
3 times.
You went over the top with it, huh?
Oh yeah. He really hips in. I went straight over. It was basically Goldberg jackhammer.
Nice. Okay. With his socks.
Always.
Yeah. The Tormenta. So, what's it been like to, you know, cause I'm down in Rochester and I'm talking to some of those guys and they're like, yeah, Canadian Joe. What's it been like as far as like building the rapport with, you know, guys that are your teammates? You're going to be representing another country. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, that's your goal. But to basically be, you know, an outsider that's been brought into, you know, an elite level club with, I'd say limited training. I think, would that be fair to say?
No to limited training.
Yeah. So it seems like you've been accepted pretty well here by the Storm.
Yeah. I think they've just recognized that I'm here to work. You know, I'm not here to just mess around and like waste their time. You know, I feel like what they're giving me, I'm already giving back. Like I'm an Olympic tier training partner. So I've kind of been to the pinnacle of training partner.
Yeah, it's true.
Whatever that means.
You've been there. You've had a chance to watch and go into the facilities. But so when you look at you, is it weird to think about this? Like you can actually legitimately put a, you know, world and Olympic hopeful by your name. Now you're actually in a situation where you're trying to make that dream come true.
Yeah, it is kind of. No, you know what? It's not scary. It's motivating. Totally motivating. I came here for a reason. You know, I wouldn't have just switched countries just to see you or be on this podcast. Although it is that it's just one level above that. And I want to be that guy that brings Greco back to Canada. I need to. I'm basically lone wolfing this. This is a solo mission right now that I'm on. I'm not going to get any funding from Canada or pretty much anyone else. I'm going to have to do it all on my own.
Yeah. So how are you living here? Obviously, you're in a house that a former gopher owns. That you know, his name shall remain nameless. But you know, the real estate biz has been pretty good by former J-Rob wrestlers, and you know, you've got active college athletes in here. Some wrestlers that are still in school, and like you're not in college with these guys. You're again kind of the lone wolf in terms of your schedule. You don't have to go to class, but so how are you working on you know, supporting the rent, paying the rent?
Well, when
not to get too specific, I mean, there is a Hortons you could work at.
No, it's fine. I saved a lot of money back when I was in British Columbia. So, I mean, maybe 3 or 4 months. I don't know when I messaged you, but like from that point, I was like, okay, don't be an idiot. Let's stop spending money on shoes. And
how is your shoe game? Because my game's terrible. I got 2 pairs.
Pretty good. I'm all Nike. Nike, please sponsor me if you're listening. But yeah, I love shoes. Nike. Wait, that's not the point. The point is I saved my money. As soon as I was planning on coming here, I started saving my money. So I'm pretty comfortable right now. I worked at Chipotle. Shout out to my Chipotle people.
What's your favorite combination if you have to eat there? Because I know some people when they work someplace, they don't want to eat there as much anymore.
No, I love that stuff.
I learned that with Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Oh, but that's not the same level. Get out of here with that close stuff.
We got some combinations that work really good back in the KFC days. So you're saying I want your Chipotle combination.
Like the entire thing, I'd say.
You're a bowl guy or a burrito guy?
I go with bowl.
Okay.
I go with the bowl. Let's say brown rice, black beans, no fajitas. Let's go double chicken and either carnitas or sofritas, because that is...
What is sofritas?
Sofritas is tofu.
Yeah, you're never going to catch me eating that. But
it's so good, though.
Nah,
I know, I'm not the type either, but it's delicious. Trust me, it's a good mix with the chicken.
I like basically anything with chorizo. So give me the steak and the chorizo.
I never tried the chorizo. Never had it in Canada.
Oh, yeah, because you got to be in a border country, because that's Mexican sausage. So you can't quite get it. You got to go to the U.S. You got to be in the middle. You can get Canadian bacon and Mexican sausage here. Yeah. I don't think they can get Canadian bacon in Mexico, though.
Nah.
Wow, I am just making all sorts of stereotypes here right now. No, just kidding. But when we look at the opportunities now, travel schedule, competition schedule, that's all on you, or is the Storm going to help you out with getting any of these events that, like, say, for example, the Dave Schultz or the NYAC, these things that are coming up that are domestic, to use the U.S. term here, because, we're in the U.S., so it's a domestic tournament, but opportunities to go and represent the club at those places while representing Canada. I mean, how is that? Have you had those discussions yet, or what are your plans there?
Yeah, again, I'm lone wolf in this one. Yeah, so I asked Chandler, because I was just curious. I wasn't expecting any funding or any help from the Storm. And I was like, hey, coach, are you guys going to help me out if I go to, say, Schultz, for example? And he said, win a world medal and we'll start helping you out. So that's my motivation. It makes sense.
I mean, yeah, I was curious. I mean, how deep will the club, provide? That's
financially, I don't think anything, and I wasn't expecting it. So honestly, I just came here to train.
You're not here for a handout, but
no, definitely not. No.
I will say this, that the Gophers in here need to probably fix their washing machine or dryer, because that sounds interesting. Anyway, as we're here in Minneapolis, what are your impressions of I mean, you said you've been to Chicago, your family and whatnot. What are your impressions of Minnesota and Minneapolis and the Twin Cities so far?
I haven't been around too much, to be honest. I've just been focused on training and buying stuff, because with my extra time, I just sit in my room with my laptop, and everything is so cheap here, and Amazon Prime is just amazing. So
what are your customs forms going to have to be if you go back and ship it?
Oh yeah, that's I have to leave all my stuff here. Totally. I can't take anything back, because I'm going to lose all the money I saved.
Or have somebody drive across and be like, hey, I don't know, we figured that out.
No. But no.
Nothing to declare.
Yeah. Well, good luck. That's like 2 cars full already.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. I'm allowed to do it. It's okay.
So what was the first, how long did it take you to discover the Tim Hortons down here?
Immediately. That was, I don't know, it was like Canadian radar, or Canadar for the layman. I was walking to the university for my first practice, and again, I was kind of terrified, nothing familiar, and then I saw it just it's just wedged between some noodle shop and I don't even know.
So is it right there in Dinkytown?
Yeah, it's right in Dinkytown. And I just saw it, and I went in there, grabbed a double-double. That's how you do it.
Don't know what that is.
Double, 2 cream, 2 sugar, man. Come on, it's just
I'm not a coffee guy. I like Caribou a little bit. I don't do the coffee drinks.
All about Tim's.
Just black coffee. That's pretty much my deal.
It warmed my heart, and I found a little piece of home in Minneapolis.
Because you were definitely not the first Canadian to be on any of the shows here on the Mad Talk Podcast Network. Mm-hmm. First one here we've had a Polish guy on this show before.
Nice.
And we've had a Minnesota Japanese Czech guy on the show before.
All those things in
he's one guy, yeah. And he's from Minnesota. Go figure.
Wow.
And but when we had Erica Weeb on, who was on short time Olympic champion from Canada, made the joke about either Tim Hortons or what was it? Swiss Chalet? Is that the other Canadian fast food institution? And it was like, oh, come on, it's Timmy's. And like Timmy's is what you guys call it.
Timmy's, Tim's. Oh yeah. So
how many Starbucks are in Canada by comparison to Tim Hortons?
I mean,
well, first of all, why don't you pay attention?
Starbucks is really catching up.
Well, you're in the Pacific Northwest, so so I'm pretty.
They're there. Starbucks is
What have you discovered that's been kind of surprising, maybe just about the culture of Minnesota, whether it's the food? I like craft beer, so the beer scene here is quite good. I even listen to a podcast all about Minnesota beer. Yeah, so, but what have you discovered about the American culture of Minnesota that you may have not experienced while spending time in Chicago?
I mean, yeah, it is the beer. I've tried a Wisconsin beer already. I guess that's not Minnesota though, but everybody's just telling me to go out and just try every beer possible. But one thing, I think this is just the States in general, is organic stuff. And organic stuff is so available in Canada, and it's so terrific, and you know the difference and everything. And I haven't had anything organic here, and I'm dying inside.
You just have to. Well, if you do, apparently, you got to pay for a premium.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This you guys really put that primo price on the organic stuff, and I can't do it.
What are some things that you can't get here that you are just kind of jonesing for?
This is going to sound lame, but my organic spices. I like,
right.
I told you I worked at Chipotle, so I'm really good in the kitchen, and my knife skills are terrific, by the way. But organic spices. There's an internet spice provider that delivers from BC that I was so used to, and we used to buy organic spices in bulk. And I thought I could do it here, but I can't. And so I'm using Miss Dash and stuff on my chicken. I feel
I almost have to take it. Almost have to take an Uber to Whole Foods or something.
Yeah. I went to Whole Foods, but it's not like it is in Canada. In Canada, it's a normal place to shop. And here I always heard the jokes fancy going to Whole Foods, and it's a normal place to shop. And
you know what we call that in Canada? Supermarket.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been going there. I actually ran through the Whole 30. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Basically, no sugar, no artificial sweetener, no grains, no basically carbs, and no alcohol for a month.
Jeez.
And I had my first beer at where was I at this week? Preseason Nationals down in Iowa. So it was. Yeah, I tell you one, I was feeling pretty good. But there's a lot of high school people that listen to this show, so not until you're 21, folks.
Of course.
But it was funny. So we're going to Whole Foods. You can eat certain things you can't eat that are cooked or baked in certain oils, like soybean oil or any seed oils and stuff like that, grapeseed oil and things of that nature. So I'm going to Whole Foods getting raw cashews. And then Trader Joe's getting the raw almonds. And I'm like, okay. After a while, you kind of get used to them. But I was I'm seeing the spices, and I'm like, wow, they are a lot more expensive here than I used to think not McCormick, but the glass little spice thing. Ooh, why do I need a $12.99 bottle of coriander?
Oh, yeah.
As sparsely as you use it. But anyway, we could talk about food all freaking day because I actually did lose about 10 pounds on that. So
I noticed.
What do you mean? You haven't seen me in a year and a half.
Yeah, isn't that enough time to tell a difference?
Quite possibly. Now, as we get back to other things that, we've got a Canadian werewolf, a Canadian lone wolf in Minnesota. I was
going to take that name, but Patrick Martinez already has Greco lone wolf.
Yeah, he kind of does. He's California, and he's been floating around too. But as we look at the goals, 2020 is the goal. And then you talked about Canada, and I'm not going to try to disparage Canada by any means here because they've been great to me when I go up. I've got a great relationship with Tamara and Lee Verling and Andrew and the crew up there and a lot of the wrestlers. But the joke has been that Greco Nationals was pretty much the hungover Nationals. And it was, okay, let's wrestle Greco the day after everybody's trying to make teams in freestyle.
Yeah. Pretty much. It's the joke tournament. I know many guys who've won national titles either hungover or still inebriated from the night before.
Still 0.2.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it might even be worse this year because of the new weigh-in system. I don't think anybody wants to weigh in day of and then compete the same days. So I think I might be the only guy that weighs in.
Well, Takahashi probably wrestled just because he likes throwing people, right?
Yeah, he might actually. But then he might be the only person in 59 Yeah.
Well, he's also a guy that like could actually probably make the team in both styles.
Yeah,
I mean, he's there's just again that judo influence there. But when we look at what discussions are you having with some of the coaches up there? Like, hey, I want to try to bring Greco back to Canada. What's been the response to the people that are like interested in what you're doing here?
Well, when I spoke to Pat Smith about it and a couple of the guys from the club, they were kind of in support of it. We can only benefit, I feel like me being in this room, I'm not the only one benefiting from it. I want to be a help to these guys as much as they're helping me. Like I said, training partner, like I would love to be that guy. I've always been the type of person to try to help people like in the room anytime. So it's give and take. I don't feel like I'm here and just like stealing all the secrets and then running back to Canada. I just want to bring it back, bring the knowledge back. The States they know what they're doing, especially compared to us. We don't know what we're doing at all. Oh geez, that sounds bad. But yeah, I'd like to bring it back and share the knowledge.
Well, maybe the focus has been on freestyle for so long.
Yes.
So
yes. In Greco, we don't know what we're doing in Greco. Too much.
You got
Doug Yates though.
Okay.
And Johnny Yates.
Yeah. What do they call him? Greco Johnny, I think. Where was he? Was
Johnny Greco.
Johnny Greco. That was it, because he was at the juniors in Finland, and he's working out with Jordan Spieler, who was on a junior world team, the United States, and a fiery, explosive rising star in the United States. And so I was like, well, what's Spieler working on? I was like, he's working out with Johnny Greco. I'm like, oh, Yates. And of course, the Yates name might ring a bell for some of you who follow the women's wrestling as well. Of
course.
So, she's pretty good.
Never mind. I'm not even going to make the joke. She's great. You can't read sarcasm. Sorry, you got to be in the room. No, she's terrific.
Yeah. So when we look at some of the things that you're going through here, what were your expectations? Say you've been here, what, 2 months now?
No, actually, about 3.5 weeks.
Okay, 3.5 weeks. Oh, wow. Yeah. It's not even been that long. Okay. I thought you were here a month and a half ago. But so you've been here 3.5 weeks. You've got college kids as roommates. You've got senior level guys you're working out with from the United States. You've got a legendary coach that you're learning from. You've got 2 facilities you're working out in, at Augsburg, which is a Division III school. And then everybody here on this show probably knows that, but in Minnesota. Is it a little odd to you that the Division I room is in a dungeon, whereas the Division III room is spacious and palatial?
It is.
Now the Gophers are getting a new room soon, but
are they? Oh, geez, sweet! I came at the right time.
Yeah,
but no, my Western wrestling room is in the dungeon as well, so I'm used to the basement and asbestos smell. And
I don't think there's asbestos there, but it's got it's the old. It's not the new car smell. It's the old room smell.
Definitely. But no, I'm used to training in the dungeon, and that's where you put your head down. No sunlight to look up to, so always keep your head down.
What did you know about the American college wrestling system before you got here? That you said you'd known who Sanders and DeShazer and those guys were, but we know Andy Ross follows it fairly closely. He likes certain teams, but what does the average Canadian wrestling fan, whatnot, know about the American collegiate system?
That it's really hard. It is just brutal. I wrestled a collegiate tournament because we were in, of course, in Vancouver. The Simon Fraser guys are in NCAA, and it's tough. It is really. It's not freestyle. Definitely not freestyle, and definitely not Greco. I struggled with it. Really, really, I did.
When are you going to put me back up on my feet?
Yeah. Okay, so my first tournament, this is funny. I had to shave, too, which was the worst because...
You got a pretty gnarly beard going on right now.
Yes, it's all I have now. Look at this.
It's like, yeah.
Pulled off my hat.
Yeah, it's...
I'm bald. Shaven.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I looked like such a wiener.
Well, what hat is that? First of all, I see an NBA logo on it.
The Grizzlies.
Ah, wow. You're going retro with a team that does not reside in Vancouver anymore.
Hey, come on.
Go Memphis.
Yeah. Anyway.
You can replace that with a T-Wolves hat at any time, though, right?
I'm going to have to.
I don't know. They didn't hire me, so go ahead.
Oh, right.
Let's not bring up that wound. Go ahead.
Okay, it's okay. I'll hire you.
Shaving, beard, collegiate folks out.
So I had to shave for the collegiate tournament. I believe it was in Spokane.
Spokane would be.
Spokane, yes.
Where they shot Vision Quest, by the way.
Of course. course, everybody loves Vision Quest.
Yeah.
That guy's in Stranger Things, by the way.
Yes. He's been on the podcast. So you and Matthew Modine have something in common. You've both been on podcasts hosted by me.
Perfect. So
you like Stranger Things, but okay, give you that.
Anyway, shaving. I shaved my face, shaved my head. I look like such a dweeb in the headgear too. I wasn't used to it. And so the day of weigh-ins, first time doing day of weigh-ins, I recovered like it was the day later. So I just ate and drank everything
in
like
2
a
hours.
Maniac. Yes.
The tournament's a 2 hour weigh-in.
Yeah. And it was not a good time. I wasn't even like totally confident with the rules either.
What was the bloat factor after the weigh-in though? You're like,
I think I put on, well, in pounds, it would be like 4 or 5 pounds. I think it was like 2 kilos.
So you put on two and a half kilos.
Yeah. Like in 2 hours. It doesn't make any sense. It was just totally not what I should have done. Anyway, so we're wrestling, and again,
I'm gonna have to look up this tournament too because I didn't recall looking through that particular tournament results.
Don't do it. Jeez. So yeah, like I said, my my leg defense is horrible, and that's why I switched to Greco. Not actually, I'm a thrower, but leg defense was still horrible. So what does this guy do? Friggin' skull bash to double leg. I'm down immediately. I think I got like a crotch lift, like crackdown position. I think I'm good there, and I just get put down. I belly out, and I'm there for the whole match, and it was hell. And I pretty much tapped out without tapping out. I gave him the easiest turn possible, like 3 or 4 minutes in or something like that, and yeah, I backed out instead of bellying out. Now everybody knows I'm a baby. Anyway, that's how much we know about collegiate. It's really, really hard. And yeah, those guys are really tough.
You ever had any conversations with like the Simon Fraser guys? Like, how do you do this? Because they're wrestling a collegiate season. Mm-hmm. Actually, I was talking to Sonny Dinsa a couple years ago at the Junior Worlds in Thailand, and he's actually now in the WWE. Which one is he? Is he Akam or Ray? Which one is he?
I don't know.
He's one of the Ministers of Pain in NXT, and he qualified for nationals, and I was like, "Hey man," I was like, "Hey, is out here at?" He's in Birmingham. He's like, "Yeah, man. Hey, how you doing?" So he's like, "You having fun out here?" No, man, I hate collegiate.
Yeah,
he's on the Junior World team. The guy was pretty good. Gigantic
Junior World bronze.
Yeah, he was pretty good. Mm-hmm. Like he could still be pretty good.
Yeah,
and he's now in the wonderful world of professional wrestling, and bouncing back and forth. Like it seems like there's a love-hate relationship with the collegiate style wrestling for those people that have done it both. I know Regina has come in periodically to wrestle like Jamestown and some schools like that in the collegiate style. If Jamestown goes to Regina, it's freestyle. If they come to the United States, it's folk style, and it's a little wonky. Simon Fraser though has been folk style for in the NAI for a long time, and then they also were in what was used to be the CIS, the Canadian inter-university sport. Now it's just called U Sport.
U Sport, yes.
So I mean, you had conversations about those guys back and forth about it. I mean, you spent time with Heisland. I know he didn't wrestle for Simon Fraser in that regard, but in the room with those guys.
So those guys, I mean, the freestyle guys would go to the collegiate tournaments to like practice takedowns and stuff like that. Escapes obviously aren't our strength. So if you get taken down, the match it takes a turn for the worst, pretty much. So just don't get taken down. But it's a good way to practice leg defense as well.
Daniel Legale never had that problem.
Yeah, no, he
wasn't getting taken down.
No, nobody's touching him.
Hey, I beat Lincoln McElravy. Guess what? Oh, now I'm wrestling in the NAIA.
Yeah.
Like after he wins the goal. That's wild.
He's nuts. But no, the Simon Fraser guys, a bunch of them are American guys that have come up from like Washington or Oregon, and they've been in the system for a while, like with the collegiate style. But the Simon Fraser guys that are Canadian always struggle. First year is always hell. It's the worst. I'm assuming it's as bad as it was when I wrestled that one tournament, one and done. But yeah, the transition is really difficult. I feel like it's easier to go from collegiate to freestyle instead of vice versa. It's just that
we've kind of proven that here in the United States. Yeah, now, definitely. What has been the most fun thing, whether it's wrestling or just life in general, that you've experienced here in the last couple of weeks, Sal? I wouldn't say you're a resident yet, but say a resident of Minnesota. Don't you know?
I'd say the people that I'm with all the time, or as often as I'm with them, like the guys from the club, they've just been great friends already. Like, this is kind of geeky, but Alec Ortiz and I share a love for Pokemon and pretty much Nintendo all around. And
Nintendo now, or like vintage Nintendo?
Vintage.
Because he seems to me like a vintage guy in so many different ways. He's a vintage guy.
Yeah, he's got that old school love.
So I've got a Raspberry Pi with all some of the retro games on it. My wife crushes me in Dr. Mario. What's your old school Nintendo game of choice?
We played Smash Bros for a good 3 hours. And
that's a 64
that was a highlight.
Game,
yeah. We played 64.
I'm talking like NES or Super NES.
Well, I played those.
Yeah, but you're 25, so you didn't grow up with those, though.
I did. I had older brothers.
Okay, gotcha.
That's how I knew. But the N60. That's the first one. Smash Bros is the first one. The first one was for N64.
Played a lot of GoldenEye.
Of course.
Star Fox.
Yes.
All the 64 stuff.
Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Stadium.
No, got nothing on that. Got nothing on Pokemon. Here's what I know about Pokemon. Pikachu, I choose you. That is about it.
That's good.
And the South Park episode of Chimpokemon.
Of course.
Buddy. Yeah, we can't. This is kind of still a mostly PG show, so we can't say any of those South Park jokes.
Just Chin Pokemon is enough.
All right. Now, Canadian facts. I want to get to some of these things because
let's do it.
Because Andy didn't really play with this game very well when we were at the World Championships. I think he was too excited for being engaged. Congrats, by the way. And true or false? Canada did apologize for Bryan Adams.
Why would they? Bryan Adams is the best.
That's false.
Oh.
Cuts like a knife, doesn't it? Oh, let's see what I did there.
Run to you.
Yeah, it's okay. That's really the end of the Q&A with no, I just wanted to get the Bryan Adams joke in there. So, when you're looking 2020, qualification processes being what they may, where do you think, well, one, how do you have to make the Canadian team to compete at the World Championships? Here it's you make the World Team Trials, then, the only requirements you enter the Pan Ams, the Continental Qualifier, so your country can go to the World Championships. So, have you had those discussions like, okay, I can enter the Pan Ams or whatever and represent Canada, and then would you go, provided you, beat some hungover guys? Well, or somebody that decides to say, I'm not going to let Joe make the team? No,
I'm going. I think I'm going regardless. Whether that be confidence or ignorance, whatever it is. I think I'm already the best in Greco at Canada, in my weight class at least. Already.
They did have, one of the Barreros did wrestle at...
yeah, he did.
And he wrestled at, go figure, American University.
Yeah, there you go. See, we're all just learning from you guys, basically.
So what's interesting about them, though, is they live like what is it, like on a reserve, like I don't know if it's technically a reservation, but it's like it straddles the border of the U.S. and Canada. So they've been able to wrestle for Canada. So that's a pretty cool story there. Maybe they'll be on another show in the future, but they're not in Minnesota. So they're not on this show, Joe.
I'm sorry.
So what are some things you're bracing for when it comes to wintertime here? Because, yes, you're from Canada, but London is actually south of Minneapolis. And Vancouver, really, you get a lot more of that wet winter versus a whole lot of snow. What are you fearing here? In
the 3 years that I was in Vancouver, I never once needed a winter coat, and it's like late October right now, and I'm freezing my ass off already.
It's snowed so twice.
Yeah,
now, I grew up in Virginia. Never had a white Christmas.
Nice.
What do they call Christmas in Canada?
Christmas.
Yeah, okay. Never had a white Christmas. We basically gonna have a white Halloween. That's kind of wild. So. Now, hardest things to adjust. Is it the temperature? Is it the pounds versus the kilos? I mean, what's the hardest transition?
I'm still holding my ground when it comes to pounds, kilos. So I'm still sticking with kilos. But at least
see, international wrestler, you can say kilo and they will get it. In this house, no. But
no, everybody
club practice. What do you are 2 over, and they probably know kilos.
No, they're still. I think they do pounds, and I hate it. I hate it so much.
Come on, Pap Smitty, you gotta work this metric thing in.
But the cold is probably going to be the biggest thing. I'm actually.
So it's like it was 39 degrees Fahrenheit when I left the house. So that's like 2.
See, you guys use Fahrenheit.
I know. I'm just trying to compare. I set the question. So
is
it's
it 2?
I don't know. Is it? That's why I'm asking you.
Maybe.
I'm going to have to do this.
It's such a weird conversion.
The thing is, I tweet my weather every single day, and I don't know that. That's the one thing.
It's like times 1.8 plus 18 for no reason.
I usually go, I think it's what?
Or plus 60.
Half it minus 30, or no, it's something. Yeah, anyway, any math majors out there can figure this out. But the phone tells me I had this little thing that says go to C to F. It's 38 degrees, so that means it is. I can't. Where's the C and the F? I suck at live podcasting right now. Anyway, I think it's because if 32 is 0, I think it's like 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm. So
he's got the Canadian phone.
Of course.
Break it up, buddy.
So Minneapolis, it is. Oh, geez, this is the worst. 3 degrees right now.
See, I get a bonus point for being within a degree.
No, you definitely don't.
No, I said 2 or 3.
Did you?
I did say 2 or 3.
Roll it back.
Well, we can figure it out here on the program. So
figure out that you're wrong.
Well, okay, yeah, it is old school. I see a GameCube right here, right now, and they haven't made those in like 10 years.
You haven't played it yet.
I bought a tape deck off Craigslist like 2 weeks ago.
Why?
Because I needed to get some stuff from the Wrestling Hall of Fame into a podcast format, and they sent me tapes from the 1970s.
Holy.
Yeah. You know how hard it is to find a cassette?
Probably really hard.
Yeah. Somebody sold their stereo equipment sections to me, and I already broke one side of the tape deck in the first hour I had it, so the second side still works. But best thing about Canadian wrestling, men's, women's, everything. Like, what's the best thing about being a Canadian wrestler?
Best thing about being a Canadian wrestler is, I feel like it might be the same way here. I don't want to say that it's not, but there's a lot of love. There's that camaraderie within wrestling. I feel like because wrestling in Canada is a lot smaller, you know everybody. And it's you get really close with your entire country, even though we don't have any like regional or national training centers.
And it's
anything
pretty
major right
big
now,
country because you got pockets of wrestling in Vancouver, and then in the Maritimes, as you guys call them, out in like Newfoundland, like way out there.
Yeah.
You're talking, that part like northeast of Maine. For those of you who are geographically challenged, like it's a big country.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's really really spread out. But like come nationals, like you just
anybody from none of it yet?
Yeah, there are. I was in Jasper, Alberta, doing a camp, and they had a Nunavut Canada Games team. Canada Games is like our own little mini Olympics, basically.
Province versus province.
Younger guys, younger guys and girls, and they had Team Nunavut there, and they were doing pretty great for their position. Like, not very many wrestlers go up to Nunavut to teach or coach, and they're doing awesome.
And that's the newest province, and that is like basically it's like up there, like what, north of Hudson Bay, and what is that?
It's really cold.
It's like Bay. Is that what it's called?
Oh, geez. Now you're going geography.
Yeah. Well, put it this way. I think their province is the closest Canadian province to Greenland. So that ought to tell you how cold it is up there. I could be wrong on my geography, but, we're still battling the Northwest Angle fight here in the US. So, Joe, any final words that you want to tell the Minnesota wrestling community here? We got a lot of high school fans that listen, and they're like, they're seeing these pictures on Instagram with the MTC Storm guys, and they're like, who is Canadian Joe?
Who's that bald guy? Final word, honestly, just if you ever have...
It's a gnarly dryer that's interrupting you. Yeah.
That's actually me talking.
Yeah. That's his brain working right now.
Final word, risk it. Seriously. I'm taking a risk right now, and it's totally paying off already. Within 3 weeks of being here, I've learned so much, and you never know until you actually go for it. So definitely do it. Follow your dreams, as I'm doing right now. Follow Joey D's footsteps.
All right, Joe, hey, congrats on being here and learning and being part of the Minnesota wrestling crew here.
Thank you. Thank you for everything, guys.
Support wrestling in the land of 10,000 wrestlers by subscribing to The Guillotine.
9 issues a year for just $20, the best value in Minnesota wrestling. Subscribe at theguillotine.com/subscribe.
This show is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to MattTalkOnline.com.